start somewhere, and I'm presenting on his behalf. And we all know that aortic stenosis is one of the degenerative valve disease, and it is the most common reason for aortic valve surgery or TAVI in Western countries. Even in our country, this rheumatic heart disease is still the most common reason for aortic stenosis, and bicuspid aortic valves we see more often than Western countries. And symptomatic severe AS has dismal prognosis, and is early intervention is strongly recommended in these patients. Since the first in human procedure in 2002, almost 20 years, TAVI has become a well-established therapy for severe AS. So it's a progressive disease. The normal wall leaflets are very thin. As the disease progresses, there is a progressive increase in fibrosis followed by calcium and the commissural fusion, leading to mild, moderate, and severe aortic stenosis with reduced valve orifice and increased gradients across the wall. These are various grading of class aortic stenosis. It's normal less than aortic jet velocity less than 2, mild is less than 3, moderate 3 to 4, and more than 4 is severe. And based on that, the mean gradient less than 25, or some guidelines say less than 20, 20 to 40 is moderate, and more than 40 is severe. And ACC-AHA classifies very severe aortic stenosis. That is, if the valve velocity is more than 5, or mean gradient is more than 60 millimeters of mercury, it is classified as severe aortic stenosis. But the onset of symptoms marks very reduced survival in these patients, because there is a long latent period between disease onset and severity of the symptoms. And once the patient develops symptoms like angina, syncope, and heart failure, the average time for death will be, if the patient had angina, it's averagely 5 years. Patient had syncope, it's 3 years, and if the patient had heart failure and breathlessness, it's only 2 years survival. And 50% of the untreated patients with aortic stenosis will die within 2 years of experiencing symptoms. So TAVI or surgical aortic valve replacement will definitely improve the survival, almost 40% improved in survival if the patient underwent timely intervention. Until they develop severe LV dysfunction or severe frailty, these patients will have good prognosis. So there are the ACC-AHA proposes different classification, that is A, B, C, D. Class A is patient is at risk of developing aortic stenosis in future, and B is progressive. That means already patient had mild to moderate aortic or other valvular lesion. This nomenclature is common for all valvular lesions. And stage C is asymptomatic and severe, and stage D is symptomatic and severe valvular stenosis. So in case of aortic stenosis, at risk patients will be patients who have bicuspid aortic valve, or patient who had aortic sclerosis on routine echocardiography. And as the patient become progressive AS, they become mild to moderate, increase in valvular gradients with increase in calcification and fibrosis of the bicuspid or tricuspid valve, and rheumatic valve with commissural fusion. These comes in progressive AS, and respectively the valve hemodynamics and hemodynamic consequences on the LV, like early increase in LV diastolic pressures with normal LV ejection fraction in progressive stage. But in asymptomatic stage, patient may be having LV dysfunction, but patient will not have a symptom on routine daily activities. But if they are subjected to exercise stress testing or some of the other markers like BNP, they will be having elevated brain natriuretic peptide, which are indirect indicators that LV is under stress. And these are subclassified into D1, D2 based on the LV ejection fraction, and high gradient AS, and D2 is low flow, low gradient AS. And these are all patients has to be thoroughly evaluated. The first and foremost test will be transthoracic echocardiography, which shows the valve morphology, amount of calcification, gradients, and along with that, and its effect on the systemic and pulmonary circulation and LV dysfunction. And apart from history and physical examination, ECG also carries important prognostic and information in these patients, and the therapeutic implications too. And apart from these, what are other additional investigations? The chest X-ray may show about pulmonary circulation, whether the patient is in heart failure or intrinsic lung disease, which decides the choice of therapy and calcification of the aorta and pericardium. And transesophageal echocardiography may not be much useful in aortic stenosis, because transthoracic gives most of the information, but some of the patients it may be definitely helpful. And cardiac MR, if the patient LV dysfunction, LV mass, valve severity, and aortic disease. and PET CT, especially if the patient is suspected infection but you don't know the source of infection, it can help in localizing infective endocarditis. And stress testing if the patient is asymptomatic or the patient had low flow, low gradient days, this gives information whether to intervene or not. And cardiac catheterization, it's not routinely recommended, but it helps in equivocal cases. There is a discordance between the symptoms and the echocardiography findings. The other important markers that comes into the guidelines is biomarkers, especially brain at BNP. If the BNP is more than 3 times the normal, even if the patient is asymptomatic, it's a class 2A recommendation for active valve surgery, whether it may be SAVR or TAVR, based on the age and other criteria, and strain imaging and cardiac MR. So other important tests for pre-procedure planning is CT, coronary angiogram, or regular angiogram, along with CT